Hi, friends, fellow evolvers, and curious people everywhere. Welcome to this episode of Being with Sally Wilson. I'm Sally Wilson. And as my special guest today, we have Lyndal Higginbottom, who is a business analyst and project manager and mother of two, and who has recently had the experience that profound change can actually happen quite quickly. Can you tell us a little bit about the sorts of things that have changed for you, Lyndal, and how they changed, what that process was like?
Oh, for sure. I think for me, it happened so quickly, so soon after having completed that journey with you, that almost immediately the next day at work, really feeling like I could take up some space, that my voice was allowed to be heard, and for a very long time have had imposter syndrome, no matter what role I was in, no matter the company, even appearing very confident, I would still feel that way. So I think for me, that was a huge change and a real weight off the shoulders to feel like I was an adult at work and I was allowed to be there. I wasn't faking it till I made it.
Yeah.
And I think to realise perhaps everyone else was in a similar situation all along felt a bit silly, to be honest. Wasting all this time worrying about whether or not what I had to say mattered, where I really could have just been having a better time. And so that was a huge one for me.
Because, there are so many of us out there who we come across really confidently. And on paper, we look great. But you just don't know what's going on in somebody's inner world. And what was it that actually led you to look at doing this kind of work to begin with? Like, what was it that you were like, this has to change? I want this to change.
Yeah, so 100%. The catalyst was having kids.
Right.
My partner's amazing. So I think it was also wanting to make sure he doesn't go anywhere. And then also just kind of realizing this is meant to be enjoyable, like day to day. It's actually meant to be enjoyable, and it just wasn't. And on paper, everything looked great. I'm very fortunate. And I think, having these gorgeous kids and thinking, sugar, I am their example. They're watching me, and whether or not I like it, they are going to learn from how I operate, how I see the world, how I react. And I didn't like what I was seeing. Just lost that joy. There was just no spark anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what's it all for?
Yeah.
Not in a negative, dark sort of way, but I think I really should just be enjoying myself.
Yeah.
This all looks pretty great. I wish I felt the way everything looked.
Yeah. So were there specific things that you thought, oh, I don't want them to pick that up. I don't want them to pick that up. Like things that you could feel in yourself. Because that's the first thing, isn't it? It's awareness that we're experiencing something we don't want to experience. And secondly, it's the question, oh, hang on, can I change this?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So what were those things for you? I mean, you've told us about imposter syndrome, but other things.
Just not feeling like I was maternal enough to be a mum, because I like to be silly and goofy and muck around. And I do have a serious side. I've got a kind of a social worker background, and then you're in corporate jobs and things can get very serious. And I think I was mature at a young age, always taking responsibility, where I can see now I probably didn't need to. But I just think I worry about a lot of things that I probably didn't need to.
Yeah.
I've read, there was a meme, but I took it to heart, and it said the first born son is a carbon copy of the mother. And I thought, oh, mate, I think we need to do something here. Yeah, learning to regulate my emotions
Okay.
in my 40s, that's a big one for me. I don't think I'd ever really let myself feel things. So, I've been going on my own journey since having kids, and a lot of that has been, trying to wrap my head around who I am now since having them. So there's a bit of identity kind of confusion there. I think that's a really big one. Feeling like I was at the same point as my toddlers in their emotional regulation journey.
Right.
Bit of a red flag.
And just could you talk to us a bit more about that realization that you were holding responsibility for other people or for other people's stuff more than, responsibility that wasn't really yours? Did you realize you were doing that before you did the work?
No, I don't think that I've not profoundly realized it. I think over the years I've thought, this probably isn't my job. I probably shouldn't be worrying so much or stressing so much about this, or certainly be looking after that to the detriment of something that is my responsibility. But where there was a gap, or even at school with teachers, teachers that ask a question, nobody answers, I'd feel bad for them, hand goes up. And it's that sort of mindset day to day, feeling like I was responsible for my family, not just for my two gorgeous boys, and, being an equal partner with my husband. But definitely can see that I was owning things that weren't mine to own.
Yeah.
It's really amazing to even be able to say that now and not feel guilty, because the guilt was the other part.
I was going to say, so now that you don't, own things that aren't yours, what does it feel like?
Yeah, a huge weight off the shoulders.
Right.
I really feel like my priority has priority. I think I always knew my priority was, working on myself, my relationship, my family. But I don't think I felt I could make it the priority, because I was spread too thinly across all of the other things that I had decided I was responsible for. And I think also, in losing a bit of that joy, it was like I wasn't allowed to be happy until everyone else was allowed to be happy. Didn't feel right. So that's kind of where the guilt part came in, with the feeling responsible for others, because it didn't feel right that I should, be in a wonderful relationship, not be living pay to pay anymore, that sort of thing. If others weren't able to have those same securities in life.
Yeah. And we're talking about all of these huge changes. And so many of us, we've been taught that deep transformation or deep healing has to take a really long time and a lot of conscious effort of will. And there's something wrong with us if we can't make those changes or sustain them or whatever, right? Can you give us a sense of how long this process of change has taken for you?
Depends how far you want to go back. But look, the first time I sought help for feeling unhappy, I guess, or like things weren't manageable, back in 2008 was the first time I admitted to myself that, things needed to be better, and that maybe some help to learn to manage how I was feeling was a good idea. So I did talk to a psychologist back then, but it wasn't until I had kids in the last 5 years that I went and spoke to somebody else. And that was the trigger for that, was postnatal depression after my second son. So I think the desire was to feel better, was to try and understand why could I be feeling so terrible when I thought I couldn't have kids, and now I've surprised got two? How could I possibly be feeling, anger or fear or be so overwhelmed when it was just such a joyous, amazing miracle that had happened? Yeah.
And if you just tell us about like the last, because we had 3 sessions, yeah? Didn't we? 3 sessions, about a week apart each, approximately. So you talked about, in the past, you spoke to someone who helped you with tools to manage.
Yep.
How has the work that we've done differed from that kind of work?
Yeah, great question. I mean, you explained it really well to me at one point, but it's certainly clear to me from experience now that in talking to somebody else, that was a lot, like you've said, around having those tools to manage on a day-to-day basis, identifying something before it happens. What are my triggers? What are the stories I tell myself that I need to nip in the bud and kind of rewrite, reframe? And that's exhausting. So for many, many years, I have been trying to do that.
Yeah.
Whether it just be, trying gratitude of an evening. When I think something negative, try to prompt myself to think of something positive at the same time. When terrible things happen, not to let them compound in my head. So I was very good at that. Because it's all my fault, because I should be on top of things, because I'm capable and I've got everything I need. I'm fortunate in life. So I think it's that pressure I put on myself to get it all right, have all the balls in the air. And I think even learning about how the mind works, having kids, learning about how the brain develops, at what age you're capable of doing what, like, it's just fascinating. Neural pathways, like, yeah, I really enjoyed learning about all of that. But it was taking a very long time to make those changes. And I felt once having kids and then working full time as well. And, how are you a mother, a partner, a daughter, a friend? Like, how do you do all of this? So there was just running out of time in the day to work on myself, to be the best version I can be, so that, and then keep everything else going. The stark difference, I think, with this journey for me has been almost like a shortcut. And I love a good loophole. Being able to almost have like a summer camp. It's like an intensive program where it's like, all right, Lyndal, you've done a good job, mate. It's been a long time. You've been working hard. Let us just give you a bit of a leg up here, and we'll do some of this work quick, smart, thoroughly, so you're not kind of still wondering, oh, is this going to come up again? So yeah, the experience for me has been, instead of it being tools just to manage and identify my triggers and my stories, I feel like I've already rewritten a lot of these stories that used to pull me back into the past or make me worry about the future, and just didn't give me space to enjoy right now. Just that's been really amazing, and even has kind of given me, or my brain, space to think of really happy memories that I've never thought of before. It's like I've got an extra room in the brain available now. There's more capacity.
Yep. And that I like to think of it personally as, we let the pressure out of the balloon. Often there's just this buildup of stress. And when we're, and also the whole having to manage, try to get better, that's even more stress. And we beat ourselves up when we feel like we're not getting better or feeling better or whatever. We feel, well, this is what's wrong with me. And then that adds to the stress, right?
Yeah. But a lot of times it felt one step forward, 2 steps back. Just, yeah.
Yeah. And let's face it, we're very intelligent people. If we could do this stuff with our conscious minds and with managing and all these tools and things, and if we could, we would, we would have made those changes. But so often these profound changes can really only be affected in our unconscious mind, because that's what's running our lives. And a lot of people forget that, haven't learnt that. And it's such a different process. I remember when I did this work as a client, and we're talking about TRTP here, the Richard's Trauma Process, people. So when I did it, I might have told you, Lyndal, I didn't think I needed it. I did it because I thought, oh, right, I want to train in this. I know, I've heard how amazing this is as a process, how quick and effective and safe, and people aren't re-traumatized and all this. So this is great. I'm going to train in this. Well, of course, you have to do the process first, don't you? And
recon for you.
What was that?
It was recon for you.
I thought, oh, this will be interesting. I mean, being the sort of person I am, I threw myself in and I committed and I absolutely followed instructions and was very, conscientious. I didn't even know that I was living in a state of guilt. I didn't even know that when things went wrong or when somebody's in a bad mood, I didn't even know that I was immediately assuming it was something I'd done wrong. Or that it was, I didn't know that. You know why? Because it was my normal.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was something that could go until I felt, like you said, the weight just lift off, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is how life can feel. And I don't even have to work hard to feel this.
Yeah, I've tried not to get mad that I've not done this earlier. Yeah, it's just, I really am excited about the fact that, I mean, I'm just enjoying every day a bit more now.
Yeah.
And I just a better level of confidence that I'm allowed to, take up space. I didn't realize that that's something that I had done until I went through this process, was really to see that I was trying to make sure that I didn't take up space at work.
And when you say that, you mean sort of staying in the background, not asserting yourself, not expressing your opinion, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, you want to be productive and chip in, but you don't ever want to be seen to be aggressive, overly confident. Especially in male-dominated workplaces. I've worked in a lot of technology, like prop tech, that sort of area is heavily male dominant. So you very much don't want to be emotional, don't want to be seen too much, because you don't know how to manage your emotions all the time. So it's a bit of a protective thing as well. But
so
it's
how's
really
that?
now feeling like I'm allowed to be a bit weird. Like, I enjoy dad jokes. I like to have a a beer and a laugh after work when I can. And just not worrying about what that might look like to others as well too. It's just, I think my husband had told me for a long time, people don't care as much as you think they do, Lyndal. That really makes sense to me now. It never did before this process. Just that, this is about me and how I feel about me, and
100%.
no one else is having to worry about me, and it's not my job to worry about how they see me.
Yep, absolutely. And there were some things that you said after we'd had 2 sessions together and we'd just met for the third one. You said, and I've got it up here, I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. Now I know I really deserve to feel good. I've never let myself feel that before. And you said, and the same at work. Imposter syndrome's disappeared. Before, I felt bitter and weighed down by it, but I was never able to articulate myself in their presence. That's gone.
Yeah. And that stands true.
And that, I'm getting goosebumps I'm getting goosebumps. I mean, that is such a huge shift. And there are so many people out there. If you're listening, people, if you're out there listening going, I feel like that. I feel like I can't assert myself. I don't deserve to assert. It's not safe for me to stand out. It's not safe for me to express myself. I can't be happy. I don't deserve to be happy. Please know you're not stuck feeling like that. That's not how we're meant to live our lives. Right?
No. What a waste of time. Yeah. And that's not lost on me now too, what a colossal waste of time all that worrying has been.
But it's
and all the time that I've got back now. So I guess that's it's definitely made me more of a glass half full kind of gal again, which is nice. Just
and it's not the sort of thing, don't anyone, don't beat yourselves up for having tried for so long and not being able to make the shifts that you think you should be able to make. It's because you can't make that stuff through conscious effort of will. You can manage, you can pretend, like you said, fake it till you make it. You can come across as confident, perhaps, but addressing it and resolving it rather than managing it is a whole different kettle of fish. And it's not the laborious process that we think it has to be.
for sure.
There was something else that you said. That's right. You said to me at the start of our third session, you said, I was always submissive. I wouldn't have considered challenging a doctor before, challenging the authority before. It's like I'm allowed to be an adult now. I approach everything differently now.
Yeah, I still call doctors doctor. And I realized, after the process, I went to the doctor and I realized I was older than her. and I was calling her Dr. Vicky. And that was a big step for me to go to first name, doctor first name.
Yeah.
I really thought maybe having kids would help me feel like an adult, but I've genuinely always felt, as though I'm, imposter syndrome in the rest of my life as well. I'm not an adult. I'm doing adult things. Yeah. And I'm pretty good at making it look like I'm meant to be here. Yes, that was a big deal. And I think challenging a doctor or asking, no, I'm sorry, I actually would like to know what other options might be, or it was really I think in the past, had I would have not said it and walked out feeling annoyed at myself.
Yeah.
I didn't even think twice. It's amazing.
Yeah. And like in the workplace, you said, I'm trying to remember exactly what you said. I think one of the guys on your team said, people, this is work. This is work. We don't have to kill ourselves doing this, right? And you'd kind of gone there a couple of weeks before in terms of feeling all of a sudden, this is work. This isn't, I don't have to kill myself doing this. Like, if we can't meet the deadline, we can't meet the deadline. That's just how it is. Can you talk us through just that, how that felt, like what the shift there was for you after you did this work?
Oh, yeah. This has been a big one for me, a big change. Look, anyone who knows me, or thinks they know me, would think that I'm very confident, outspoken. So it's not like at work I wouldn't speak up, or I wouldn't be vocal, or I wasn't, a clear presence in the team, etc. But there was a lot of effort and angst behind speaking up that nobody else would know about. But after this process, it became abundantly clear to me that I had a job and I had a life. And there's lots of talk, as we all know, especially the last few years, about work-life balance and having kids, being able to work from home when they're sick has been amazing. So I'm very grateful for those sorts of changes. But yeah, it's to know that work is work, and it's there to provide me some, ability to learn new things, use my skills, make some friends. Let's be honest, I don't have a social life right now. But yeah, just really it's been rubbing off on my workmates. Well, one in particular, and I just said, this is a job. Like this deadline is not on our heads individually. And for me, closing the laptop at the end of the day and then just being present with the family has been a game changer. I would quite often, even if I was able to do that and log off, I'd still feel guilty and go and check again later, or maybe try and get up early and go in the next day to try and get organised. I still work hard, but I'll work hard within the time allocated.
Yeah.
And I think, having, that was my boss who said, you are not meant to be killing yourselves to achieve this deadline. I really appreciated that he said that. But for the first time, I kind of didn't need him to say it.
Yeah.
Because that's my yardstick now anyway.
And what have you noticed when you said you've noticed it start to rub off, your shift of sort of state of being? I'm not going to call it attitude. It's more than that. It's a state of being, right?
Sure.
How have you noticed that start to rub off on other people?
I'm hoping it's in good ways, but it's really not getting as stressed as I used to.
Yeah.
What are we actually worried about here? Yeah. There's a much better perspective on the task at hand and its place in my life. So I'm not going to let leave anybody high and dry, but I'm certainly not going to be breaking my back for an employer when my kid needs me to connect with them right now because they've had a hard day, or like yesterday, a bee sting.
No.
That's the priority, and I don't feel guilty for drawing the line, logging off, and being where I'm meant to be. Yeah, that I can't say it enough. The guilt factor for me has been a profound shift. So not having that guilt, being responsible for whether it's family or other situations, or even at work for helping carry things. That's not there anymore.
It's just
amazing.
Wonderful. It's just wonderful. And people who are listening or watching this, the reason Lyndal and I wanted to have this conversation with all of you, because if you're listening and watching, you're in this conversation with us, is because we know that there are a lot of people, a lot of you out there who are experiencing that kind of pressure and stress, and however it manifests for you, whether it's, even anxiety or imposter syndrome or, not being able to be assertive. I know you were able to be, Lyndal, but for a lot of people out there, they can't, or prioritizing themselves, that crushing guilt, and over responsibility, over caring, all that sort of stuff. And we just wanted you to know that it can change. You don't have to live like that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that that I haven't asked you about, Lyndal, that you'd like to mention to people, or anything else that you'd like to add to this conversation?
I think something else that has been a big deal for me is feeling like I'm in my own skin. I know I've said this to you before, but I'm able to distance myself from what's going on in my life so efficiently. So even I think about giving birth, it's like it was happening to someone else. I have experienced some pretty awful things, and I was able to talk about it so easily, and that always worried me. Why is it so easy to talk about being sexually assaulted in the workplace, for example?
Yeah.
and to understand now that, I had just become quite efficient in, removing myself from those emotions, that, become quite clinical.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because I look at my kids or just people around me, I think, like, I pride myself on bringing humanity to work. That's, I feel like it's important that a job is a job. I'm lucky to have a job, but it is a job. And the most enjoyable thing about it is bringing that humanity to the workplace, and then kind of realizing that I was so able to distance myself from what makes us human, which is how I'm feeling, good, bad, ugly. Yeah, that's pretty sad. And I'm definitely on the other side of that now. And I think I've got a way to go still with that, just getting used to it. But feeling like things are happening to me now.
Yes.
That's very different.
Yeah. And we, in our work, we call that being able to dissociating. And it's a survival response. It's a way of coping, right? When somebody's experienced trauma, one of the ways of coping is shutting off feelings around it, soldering on, and just not allowing not allowing ourselves to feel. The problem is that then we can't feel things we even want to feel, right? We just become shut down. We can't feel joy. We can't enjoy physical touch sometimes, and so for that to change is a wonderful thing. I find your description of it being sad, I find that really interesting. I get why you look back and you're like, that was sad that I couldn't do that. On the other hand, it does provide people who need it with a survival mechanism for a while. For a while. And if somebody's listening, watching, who's like, oh yeah, I can't feel, I shut myself down so I can't feel. Please also know that can be resolved. Don't beat yourself up for it. It's just your system protecting you. But that can be resolved, and you can feel joy, and you can enjoy feeling, pleasure at human touch again.
That's definitely something that resonates with me. The kids quite often, end of a day, I mean, my boys are 3 and 5 and they're just all over me, and I just, end of the day, back off. Like, nope. And I would retreat. And there are a couple of rooms in the house that have high door handles that I know they can't get to, and that's where I would go. Whereas,
sorry,
now
Lyndal, go ahead.
I'm definitely better with that now,
Because I remember you saying to me when I was asking you what are you, what are you fearful of if when you get to fantastic and all this, you're feeling great, and you're like, oh, everyone's going to want to touch me.
So, it's still happening, but I was right. But it's not something that I balk at as I used to. And again, that makes me sad to think about it. These gorgeous little boys, they're so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I would just be thinking, can you please get off? Like, even just a nice soft touch for me was just, nah. Yeah. I'm overtired and out of control. I've not had any time for myself. And I think that's another wonderful thing that's come out of this is some wonderful intentions that very rarely came to fruition was just some me time, guilt-free things to do for me. Yeah. And I've put that into practice now, even just doing a bit of stretching, hanging back after work a bit at home. I'm not going to do my yoga at work in the office. But that's been really nice, and I don't feel bad about that anymore because I know my partner's got things sorted and it's not all on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lyndal, thank you so much for having this conversation. It's so personal for us all, and that's why we often don't hear people talking about this stuff. But it's so important because there are so many of us experiencing it. And if everyone listening, watching, if you think about your workplace, it could well be the people who are coming across as the most confident people there who are going through this. And once again, just know, people, if you're going through this, you're not stuck. You're not stuck feeling this way. It's just so important for people to know that.
Yeah, I feel the same. As you know, I'm just so happy that, the rest of my life is going to be lived this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine being the way I was. Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps.
That's a terrible thought. I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's a big change. It's a big difference. I mean, this sort of thing is the stuff of, I mean, fairy tales is a big word, but yeah, this is the game changer. This for me has given me hope that I can be happy, and the green tick that I'm allowed to be.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for my family and how it will impact them, how, being
How it
happy on
already
myself.
has.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a dress-up party after kinder picnic in the front yard yesterday. The fun's happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't forget that there is still work to be done.
We're all works in progress, aren't we? I mean, it doesn't matter how long we are on if we're on it. Not everybody's drawn to a personal development journey, and that's fine, but for those of us who are, it keeps going. But it doesn't have to be coming from a place of, I have to fix myself because I'm broken, or I'm not enough, or I can't cope, or it doesn't have to be coming from that place. It can come from a place of, woohoo, let's go. Let's see how we can feel here, or how we can do this, or how we can operate in this situation, what we can learn here. It's coming from a place of curiosity and joy rather than a sense of pressure in some way. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I had read quite a few reviews of people who had been through this process. And I'll be honest, I thought they may be telling porkies.
Porkies. You come up with words I've never heard before. Porkies. All right.
Others. Yeah, I really didn't know whether to believe this idea that there would be such an immediate benefit.
Yeah.
An immediate change. Yeah, so that was a wonderful surprise.
Yeah.
And it's stuck. I mean, I've told you before, the last couple of weeks have been a bit testy for me.
Yeah.
Remembering that, just because so many things are so wonderfully different now doesn't mean that everything's suddenly fixed. So, I do realize that, yeah, there's work to do still, like you said, or just, I need to keep being mindful.
Yeah.
But yeah, that change has been immediate and lasting for me. And I just really hope that many others get to experience this kind of new lease on life that we all deserve.
Exactly. We all deserve it. People, you hear that? We deserve it. We deserve a good life. Yeah. Lyndal, I'm so grateful to you, really so grateful that you've had the courage to share your personal story and experience, and to put it out there so that other people can know that they're not stuck. Yeah. It's
No,
such a gift for everyone. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Sally.
And listeners and watchers, thank you for being a part of this conversation as well. And I look forward to seeing you or speaking with you over the waves next time. Bye, everyone.